The real secret to reinventing who you are after 40. See, most people think change happens through one big decision: quit the job, start the business, make a leap, a big leap, burn the bridges or ships, whatever you want to call it, completely reinvent yourself overnight. That's the version that's common on social media. And I hear from a lot of clients. I experienced it in my own life. That's how I used to think. But that's rarely how real transformation actually happens, especially in midlife. Because by this stage of life, most people are not starting from zero, not anymore. You're in midlife. You have responsibilities, you have bills, routines, you have your family obligations. With everything that we do from day to day, there's mental exhaustion, there's years of habits and conditioning, maybe even years of disappointment. And because of that, dramatic change often feels impossible, those big shifts. So we tend to stay stuck, not because we're lazy, not because we lack potential, not because we believe change only counts if it's massive. And today I want to challenge. I want to challenge that entire idea because from my life experience, I've learned different. And from the things that I've learned and researched and been mentored in, it is different. Because the real secret to reinvention after 40 isn't a giant leap, it's small actions repeated consistently over a matter of time. That's what actually changes your life. Not intensity, not motivation, not even hype. It's consistency. And once you truly understand that, reinvention stops feeling impossible. Big decisions feel powerful. Boom. They create this emotional intensity. And emotionally, intensity feels like progress. You feel energized, inspired, motivated, certain. You tell yourself, this is it. Everything changes now. This time it's going to be different. But here's the problem: intensity isn't the same thing as transformation. A dramatic moment can create movement, but sustainable action is what creates change. You hear that? And most people confuse these two things. I confused them in the past. We've been conditioned to believe success comes from massive turning points, the big promotion, the big breakthrough, the big opportunity, the overnight success story. But when you really study people who transform their lives, most of the time, most, the change happened quietly, slowly, almost invisibly at first. It was small, repeatable habits, consistent learning, showing up when nobody noticed, trying again after a disappointment, doing the work long after motivation has already disappeared. That's the part that people don't talk about, don't romanticize about, because consistency isn't flashy, you know, it's repetitive. And repetition feels boring, especially to people addicted to emotional highs. But repetition is where identity changes. Identity changes. Let me give you an example. Someone decides that they want to get healthier. The dramatic version is this: join the gym, go get this big membership, buy all new workout clothes, completely overhaul the diet, train 7 days a week, maybe 1, 2, 3 hours a day. And guess what? That usually lasts maybe 2 weeks, maybe for a few a month. We see it every January when the resolutions start. Now, here's the sustainable version: walk 20 minutes a day, drink more water, sleep slightly better, maybe go a little bit earlier, make one healthier choice consistently. See, that version is less exciting. It's kind of blah, no big boom, right? Not that big emotional drive behind it, like buying that big membership. But 6 months later, that person with the little repeatable tasks, that person is the one that's changed. The same thing happens with reinvention after 40. People think I need to know my entire future. I need the perfect business. I need certainty before I even begin. No, what you need is movement. That is it, movement. Because most people don't fail because they never make a dramatic move. They fail because they stop moving after the emotion fades. You get that? They stop moving when the emotion fades, and it will fade. Motivation fades, excitement fades, inspiration fades. But guess what? Systems survive. Consistency survives. Small repeated actions survive. Hear me on this. In our 20s, dramatic moves can feel exciting. You have more flexibility, more energy, less responsibility, more room to recover from mistakes. You got your whole life ahead of you. But midlife's a little different. Actually, it's a lot different. And honestly, that's not a weakness, it's reality. By this stage, you likely have financial obligations, family responsibilities, established routines, like I mentioned earlier, mental fatigue, limited emotional capacity, because we go through a lot, we experience a lot, we do a lot. So reinvention cannot rely on chaos. It has to rely on sustainability. And that's why small actions matter more than ever, because small actions reduce that overwhelm. And overwhelm is one of the biggest reasons that we stay stuck. When we think we need to completely rebuild our lives, our entire lives overnight, the brain resists. It immediately resists. I have experienced this. I know that you have as well in some way if you really think about it. The reason is because it feels unsafe. The brain is designed to protect what's familiar to you, even if it's making you miserable. That's why we stay in careers that we hate for years. That's why we tolerate unhappiness. That's why we postpone our dreams. That's why we convince ourselves this is just the way life is now. Not because we don't want more, but because the size of the change feels terrifying. Small actions bypass that resistance. A small action feels manageable. Here, read 10 pages, write one post, record one video, research one opportunity, have one conversation, spend 30 minutes learning something new. See, that doesn't trigger the same fear-based response. And over a matter of time, those small actions create something powerful. Listen to this. Evidence. Creates evidence. Evidence that you can change. It creates evidence that you can grow. It creates evidence that you can build momentum. Confidence doesn't come before action. Confidence comes from evidence created by action. So until you take action, you cannot create the evidence that's going to build and establish your confidence. You get that? It needs confidence. Your brain needs evidence processing that you can accomplish something. When you read those 10 pages, that's evidence that you could actually complete tasks like that. Maybe the next time you read 10 pages, maybe the next time 20 pages, you're building confidence that you can establish a reading process for the long term, right? But it's the small steps. It's the same thing with any of those tasks. So, as I mentioned, with the confidence coming from evidence that's created by action, that's why when you wait to feel ready, that keeps us trapped and can keep us trapped for years. That waiting to feel ready. Readiness isn't what creates movement. Movement creates readiness. And those of us who successfully reinvent ourselves after 40 usually understand that. There's a lot of successful people that have reinvented themselves. Now they stop obsessing over huge transformations. In fact, they've learned that it doesn't work. And they start focusing on repeatable progress. Repeatable progress. Repeatable meaning small things that you can do repeatedly, right? Manageable. So what we have here is momentum it's misunderstood. Most people think momentum appears suddenly. Like one day you wake up and you're inspired. You wake up confident, motivated, unstoppable. You believe me, I used to think like this. I used to get so frustrated because I didn't wake up, those times where I was just so inspired and ready to go through the day. That's not how it works. Momentum builds through repetition, quiet repetition, not announcing it to the world. You're just taking quiet, repetitive steps, making one video, one blog post, one workout, one conversation, one uncomfortable step, not comfortable, sorry, one uncomfortable step, one small experience. See the key word in all those? One, small. It's manageable. It's going to feel insignificant at first. Honestly, in the beginning, it can even feel pointless. because the results are delayed, and delayed results, they discourage you, right? You're waiting, it's not happening, it's not happening. You post content and nobody notices. You start learning something new and feel terrible at it. Well, we got to be terrible at it before we're good at it. You try to improve your life and nothing seems to be changing immediately. So, guess what? We quit too early. And it's not because progress isn't happening, but because progress is still invisible. Things are happening, but not that big change that usually drives this emotion. This is where consistency becomes powerful because eventually something shifts. You stop seeing yourself as someone thinking about change and begin seeing yourself as someone actively creating it. That identity shift changes everything because identity drives behavior. If you see yourself as stuck, think about this. Excuse me. You behave like someone stuck. If you see yourself as powerless, you behave like someone powerless. But repeated action slowly rewires is a better word, slowly rewires identity. You become someone who follows through, someone who creates, someone who grows, someone who adapts, someone who moves forward even when uncertain. And that's the real foundation of reinvention. It's not motivation, identity. Let me say that again because it matters. Identity. Identity changes through repeated action, not motivation. Motivation is temporary. It's going to disappear. It's going to disappear sometimes fast and it's going to disappear frequently. Identity is sustainable. Most people underestimate how powerful small, consistent actions become over time. 1 year of daily improvement changes a person dramatically, not overnight, but it is permanent. You take 1 year of daily repetitive tasks that improve who you are. 1 year is not overnight, but it will be permanent because of the process that you went to. It becomes you. Okay, so instead of asking, how do I completely change my life? Try asking, what can I repeat consistently? That question really does change everything because huge goals often create paralysis. I've created goals that a week later, I just was frozen. Had a plan and everything in place, but the reality was I was frozen. I didn't know where to go, what to do. It was huge, right? Paralysis. That's what happened. But repeatable actions create progress. Progress creates momentum. So you don't have to solve your entire future this month. You need just sustainable movement. Maybe the movement looks like this. These are the small things. Um, 30 focused minutes per day you're taking to do something. Maybe you're making 3 videos per week. You're not making 3 per day. one blog post every week, not one every day, one new income experiment that you might want to try, one new connection that you can make that might benefit your growth, whatever step you're trying to move forward in. One uncomfortable conversation, one small improvement repeated consistently. That's how reinvention actually happens. Not through giant emotional breakthrough, but through small daily proof that your future is still being built. Daily, daily. And here's something important that people rarely talk about. Small actions protect hope. Because when you stop moving completely, you're totally hopeless. Hopelessness grows. There's no movement, but movement creates possibility. Even the tiny movement creates possibility. And the moment you start moving consistently, something psychological changes. You stop waiting for life to rescue you. You start participating in your own future again. See that? That is powerful, especially in midlife. I didn't know this stuff when I was young. I experienced a lot of this, majority of this, and learned this in midlife. See, because many people after 40 quietly begin believing that it's too late. I missed my chance. This is just who I am now. The reinvention doesn't require perfection. It requires that you participate, repeated participation. So, in closing, you don't need a dramatic reinvention. You don't need to blow up your entire life overnight. You don't need perfect clarity before you begin. What you need is sustainable movement, small actions repeated consistently. They become momentum. Momentum becomes identity. Identity becomes transformation. And that's the real secret to reinvention after 40. Not intensity, but consistency. And honestly, that should feel encouraging. I feel more encouraged right now as I'm even talking about this because it means your future is not decided by one massive moment. It's shaped by what you choose to repeatedly do daily. You choose. It's your choice. One action, one decision, one step at a time. And if you've been feeling stuck, like if you've been waiting for certainty, waiting for confidence, waiting for that perfect plan, maybe this is your reminder that you don't need to have everything figured out to begin moving. You just need to keep moving because small, consistent actions repeated long enough can completely change your life. And most people underestimate just how powerful that becomes over time. If what I shared today connected with you, please feel free to let me know in the comments. Let me know in the comments what's one small action you know you need to start repeating consistently. And if you're in a season of reinvention after 40, please subscribe to this channel because you're not starting over. You're rebuilding with experience. And I have a lot more to share with you moving forward. So before you go, I encourage you to watch the previous video. It's titled, You're Not Too Late. You're just not started yet. And in that, you learn why midlife makes people feel behind, the hidden danger of hesitation, and the mindset shift that changes everything. Until next time, take care and have a great day.